Well, good evening. I'm Martin Tyner with the Southwest Wildlife Foundation, Enoch Wildlife Rescue Center, and this is Belle. This is one of our wildlife ambassadors, and we're going to talk a little bit about Belle and some of the issues that we're having um, with with her natural quarry, and we're going to talk a little bit about how we're kind of retraining her to fly with a completely different quarry than she's used to. And so we'll kind of walk through that, and we're going to show you some videos of her flying and talk a little bit about some of the mistakes that can be made. And I certainly am not immune to not making mistakes. So, Belle, I make my fair share of mistakes. And so we'll go ahead and get started here. If any of you have questions, please feel free to let us know, and I'll be glad to explain whatever you want to know about how we work with these birds and fly them. And so we'll go ahead and get started here. Now, the first issue that you need to understand is that last year in October we had hemorrhagic rabbit disease literally come through southern Utah and wipe out the rabbit population that we have here. And so there are virtually no rabbits. Belle, on a good year, yes, on a good year, she catches between 80 and 100 rabbits. And the rabbits that she catches, we butcher them out and provide and freeze them and use them as a food source for the injured wildlife that we care for. And so Belle helps provide food for the eagles and the hawks and the owls and the falcons that we rescue. And so she's quite a good little huntress. But where we would normally see about between 20 and 30 rabbits an hour that she could chase. We haven't seen 30 rabbits in 2 months. The rabbit population is just completely crashed. And so, in order to get her out and continue letting her get her exercise and letting her feel that she's a part of the process so that she can actually go out and hunt, we have to use a non native substitute since there are no native rabbits for her to catch. And so, we shift over to pigeons. And pigeons are a good supplemental source. We exercise falcons, especially with pigeons, because they hunt. They're an aerial predator, and hunting, pigeons and ducks and pheasants. They hunt birds, but a Harris hawk usually isn't as much of an aerial hunter, and so we've had to do a little bit of work to kind of retrain her to get her to have any chance at all of catching a pigeon. And so we're going to kind of show you the process that we go through. Probably the first thing that everybody needs to understand is that Belle she's 3 years old. This is her fourth season as far as a hunting bird, a game hawk. And so she's very, very well made. She's a dear friend. She's, definitely a member of the family. We have raised her appropriately. She and I have a good working relationship, a good friendship, but that's not why she comes to me. She comes to me because she exploits me because I make her hunting more efficient. And so basically she's the hunter and I'm her dog. And that's very much the process that we use. And so, I would never do some of the things that I'm going to show you, and I'll explain kind of what the issues are as we go along. So, DG, shall we start with the video and start showing what we're talking about? Okay, let's stop right here, DG. Now, yeah, let's go ahead and stop the video. Thank you. Um, Now you hear that wind, and we've got that wind toned down quite a bit. We are out in a place called the Parowan Gap. It's a canyon area, and the reason we're in the Parowan Gap is because right now the surface winds are 20 plus miles an hour, so it's just howling out there. 20 with gusts that can go well over 30 miles an hour, so it's very, very windy. And so we decided that we would go basically back in the canyon where we have a little bit of protection from the wind. Um, This is a really bad idea, and I'll try to encourage people to understand this. If you're flying any kind of a bird of prey, especially if it is a relatively new bird. Now, again, this is her fourth season, so she's very well made and she's flown in a lot of wind before, so this is not a new thing for her. But if you fly a bird of prey in high wind conditions, what you will end up with more often than not is the bird being blown downwind, and then you're going to have to hike wherever the bird has been blown to go get your bird because the wind's so strong. Unless you've got a really, really powerful hawk or eagle that can handle that kind of wind, or a big falcon that can handle that kind of wind, you never ever want to fly them in wind that is that strong, especially a fresh bird, one that doesn't have the experience. But Belle is very reliable, and so we felt we could probably get away with flying her in really heavy winds if we're back up in the canyon. But the canyon poses a problem as well. And the problem with the canyon is if the bird is able to soar up the walls of the canyon and get above the cliff, now they can get blown back over the mountaintop, and now you've got even bigger problems. So go ahead and start the video again. Now what I've done here is I've just let her fly up about 20, 30 yards away up onto a boulder. And then I want to make sure before we go any further that she's responsive. As you see, one tweet of the whistle, and she comes right to me. She's being very responsive. Now that's a good thing. Now I'm going to just kind of ease her up a little bit. We're going to let her fly a little bit further away, maybe 100, 150 yards further up the cliff, but I'm going to call her back down because we want to make sure that she's very attentive if we're going to be in this kind of an environment, because we could lose her really fast over the top of the mountain. And so she's demonstrated that her weight's perfect. She's responding very, very well to the whistle and to the environment, even though the wind is extremely strong. And so we're going to let her step up and go even higher. And what we're doing here is we're letting her use the mountainside to actually develop a little bit of lift. And so she's not flying up the mountain. The wind is blowing her up the mountainside. And so as the wind basically hits the mountainside, it deflects up the mountainside, and that creates lift going up the hill. Well, she's shown me with 3 calls to the glove that she's definitely responsive, and so we're going to go ahead and let her get more altitude. The reason we want her to get more altitude is because she's going to chase a pigeon, and a pigeon is a really, really tough quarry for a Harris Hawk. It's not their normal quarry, but we can train them. You can see how much that wind is blowing? It's just terrible, terrible winds. And we're going to let her go up a little bit higher using the mountainside in order to generate lift. You can see she's about halfway up the mountain. And now I'm going to walk out about 200 yards or so away from the mountainside, and then I will release a pigeon, which she should have no chance on earth of catching. But it's just to get her to understand that instead of me flushing rabbits, I'm going to flush a pigeon. Here she comes. The pigeon's on the wing. It's going up. And she's climbing, but there's a problem. And that is the pigeon has outclimbed her. You can see the pigeon. Go ahead and stop the video. Okay, you can see her in the center of the screen, and straight above her, probably about 100 feet above her, there you go, right in that little cloud straight above her is the pigeon. Now, she has no chance in the world of catching that pigeon. And the pigeon knows it, and that's where the pigeon has made its critical mistake. See, the pigeon knows that it's in control of the sky. The predatory bird is below it. The pigeon has all of the advantage. Now, the pigeon and these pigeons that I have fly against, really, world class, hawks and falcons and eagles, and they know that if they're in that position where they're a good, 100+ feet above the predator, there's no way the predator is going to catch it. And so this is the moment when the pigeon really needs to make the decision of going, I'm leaving the territory. I'm going to get out of here. I'll fly back home to Enoch, and the hawk is no threat to me whatsoever. But the pigeon makes a critical mistake here. Go ahead, DG. Now, Belle is trying to get up to that pigeon. There's no way Belle can get up to the pigeon. She's climbing, she's using some thermal lift, and she's trying to get the altitude. Now she's going to go back over to the cliffside and gain more altitude. She's coming closer to the cliffs. And right now she's about 300 feet or so in the air. And she's used the lift that's available to her, trying to get higher and higher above that pigeon. And the pigeon's just circling around. The pigeon has decided that the pigeon is perfectly safe and the hawk is of no threat. Mistake. The pigeon got caught. Now she's coming back down. Unfortunately, she went back up the mountainside.
Okay, so we've got the slow version of the capture and the landing. Do you want to play that?
Yes, let's go ahead and play that.
Okay, so here's the slow capture.
Now this is a good 300 feet, 400 feet in the air, and it is my Harris Hawk. Most people think of that being a falcon, but no, this is a Harris Hawk in a soar taking a pigeon in flight. And the pigeon made a crucial error by not respecting the hawk's abilities.
So
Go ahead.
what now? You see, like when I was looking at this at slow,
Mm-hmm.
and once Belle's got a hold on that pigeon, does that pigeon just freeze up and give up? I mean, it's obviously not struggling while she's in control of it now.
There really isn't much that pigeon can do, especially with Belle's literally vice-like grips and incredibly powerful feet. She has far more powerful feet than any falcon, and so the pigeon is basically, it's done. There's nothing that the pigeon can do. The pigeon is going to be Belle's dinner.
Okay, so we'll go to the slow land one.
Yeah, let's go to the slow land. Now she'll bring that pigeon down, but instead of bringing it down to me, she's going over to the mountainside. Okay, she's down with her pigeon. Now, here's
Yeah.
the bad thing.
Wait, now this is the part where we all ooh and ah over Susan's camera work.
Yes, yes, Susan did a great job videoing this, and this was filmed with our cell phone. So
Okay,
she did a tremendous job.
so I'll go on now to part two. Normal speed again.
Okay, I have to climb up that mountainside, and this is all loose rock and shale, and very very difficult. Now let's go ahead and stop it right there.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and stop it. Now she's right in front of me. There was an issue, guys, and you don't see this on the video. There was an issue in that I do have tracking systems on her. I have a GPS that does GPS and analog that transmits a signal that allows me to find her. That basically sends a signal to my cell phone, and then on my watch that I'm wearing, it has a directional arrow that will point where the bird is and give me the distance from where I'm at, so I can track the bird down because we're up there on the hillside. It's rocky and it's very difficult to see the bird up in the area that the bird is at. And unfortunately, when I released the pigeon, my cell phone fell out of my pocket, and so I had to actually climb the hill and track the bird by sound because the GP I have to have the phone in my pocket for the system to work. And so I basically had to walk up on the hillside about where she was and listen for her bells in that high wind. And when I get the slight ring, so people ask me all the time, why does your bird have a bell on her leg? Well, this is the reason we have the bell, is so that if I'm not able to see her visually, and I need to get up to where she is as she's eating, then I basically hike in that direction. And then when I get close to her, I can hear the bell ring as she's plucking to break in and feed on whatever she's caught. So that's the purpose for the bell. Now I'm approaching her. Now I'm doing a really good job here. Here's one of the problems that we have, especially when you're up on a hillside. Um, if you happen to get above the hawk and you're working your way down toward the hawk from above, that'll make the bird very nervous. And there's, like I said, loose rocks and loose boulders, and if I step on one, and it could easily tumble out from underneath me and roll down on top of the bird. I've got to be very careful here on climbing that hillside, and it's always best if in this situation you come in close, but you come in below the bird slightly, and then work your way up to the bird instead of being above the bird and working your way down. First of all, the bird feels much more secure. And if you will notice, as I approach her, she's got her pigeon, but I've got little tidbits in my pocket of my hunting bag, and I will throw her little tiny tidbits, little treats, basically. And when I'm giving her those little treats, then she's going, "Oh, he didn't come to steal food from me. He has come to give me treats." And so there is no he's trying to steal my food from me. She sees me as coming to help and assist, and that's extremely important. Now, why did I have to go all the way up that halfway up that mountainside to get up to where she is? Why didn't she just bring the pigeon down to me? Because that's not what they do. She is not. She's not here to retrieve. I'm the dog. I'm the retriever. She's the hunter, and so she doesn't bring food back to me in any way, shape, fashion, or form. She will allow me to approach and just kind of gently get her up on the glove, where she can then comfortably eat her dinner, and then as she's eating, then we'll continue to work our way down the hill with her. And so I'm giving her a few more little tidbits so that she knows that she's being well rewarded for her efforts, and she gets to basically go ahead and chew on the pigeon as well as we're working our way down the mountainside.
Be careful
And
coming
again,
down.
and it's incredibly steep, and it's very loose gravel, and so basically for my security and for my safety, getting down, making sure that every step is solid is very important. But also, it would be horrible to fall and injure Belle. Belle's far more important than I am. And see, as long as she's got her pigeon there, she's pretty darn happy. She's just kind of chewing on her pigeon, um, quite content. And so I have to worry about getting off that hill in one piece. And
Do you need
and
a hand?
Susan gets worried, and I don't blame her. With doing this for over 50 years, I have very bad ankles and very bad knees and bad hips, and so I have to really be cautious. One wrong move, and any of those joints can go out on me as I'm working my way down off the cliff.
Yeah, you really can't even tell by this video just how steep that terrain is that you're dealing with there.
It is well. Let's put it this way: it would you could not drive a four-wheel drive vehicle up that hill. It is too shaly, too rocky, too steep. It is a tank would have a hard time getting up that hill, and so it's really a difficult terrain. So let's kind of, while I'm coming down the hill, let's kind of review a couple of things for everybody. My mistakes, and I'll be the first one to admit this. My mistakes. The first mistake was um, flying my bird in a 20-mile-an-hour wind
Yep, she made it a lot harder for you.
in a canyon
You're being a very good
where
dog tonight.
my
I'm
wife
sorry.
on the planet. She knows I'm a good dog.
Well, somebody asked, by the way, what kind of dog are you?
Pretty much a retriever because my
She's
job
making
is
sure
to
you get your exercise
flush
too.
things and to retrieve her and what she's caught. So pretty much a retriever. And
I got your phone in my pocket.
but as I said, the uh, if you don't have a really really dependable bird that you have flown for years,
Whoops.
and even at that,
Still
even
got
if
it
it's a
on, or
very
it's
dependable
making
bird, if
noises,
it's
your phone.
not in the right mood or it's not
Yep,
at
you
the
just worry
right
about your
weight,
footing.
then you'll very very easily lose your bird in a canyon like this. And so you've got to be
No,
very
you
careful.
caught your. Yeah, I was surprised she went up so high after it. That pigeon caught height real fast. Real fast.
Yeah, and so flying them in a canyon, flying them in high winds, both can be really really bad situations. But because Belle, like I said, this is her fourth season, and she's very very dependable with me. Doesn't mean that I couldn't have possibly lost her, because I really could. If she had gotten over those hills, and the wind would have taken her to the backside,
Yeah, I didn't have my
uh,
glasses on. I couldn't even see where she landed just as she went up the hillside.
then we would have gone for a much much longer hike. Now on my back,
Good
the
thing you got
antenna
your
that's
eyes
sticking out,
fixed because it looked like it was
that's
hard
my
for you
that's my
too.
GPS receiver. And if you can look on her tail, you'll see a
Oh
little
yeah,
blue thing on her tail.
she
That's her
caught some air.
that's her GPS transmitter, and then it all broadcasts by Bluetooth to my phone, and it gives me a a Google Map real time position, and so I can look at my phone. Google Map is up. I can see the topography of the area, and I can see where the bird is. But here's the bad thing, guys: is that transmitter is truly line of sight.
Loved it.
And so if she goes over the backside of the hill, there's a very very good chance that we will have no signal, and we will have to walk around the mountain to see if we can pick up a signal. But it's these transmitters that we use, they are strictly line of sight, and I can show you right here. There's the transmitter. This is the GPS one. Yeah, that's yours, that we use. And this is strictly analog. This is a radio only transmitter. Um, and you have to be very, very much aware of what these things' limitations are. They have tremendous limitations. And so just because you have this on your bird doesn't mean that you can pick up your bird, 20, 30, 50 miles away. Strictly line of sight. And the battery life is a real issue. The battery life on this particular analog one is about a week, and that's how long the signal lasts before the battery dies in it. Um, this one is less than a day, even though this gives me a lot more information, and I can track the bird um, to its exact location much more efficiently. There's only about a day's worth of battery in this one. And so you do need to understand what the limitations are on these tracking systems. I've known a lot of guys who have bought very expensive systems like these and lost their birds, thinking that no big deal. The transmitter is going to be running for a month, and it doesn't. It doesn't do that. There are batteries systems for the analog systems. I've got one that I use on my Eagle, and the battery is significantly larger than this, and it will run quite comfortably for about 2 months. But again, it's analog. It's line of sight only. If the bird's behind a mountain, if it's down in a gully, then you've got no signal. And so these are good to have, but they're not perfect. If we have any questions, we can answer for anybody while we're out here visiting.
Well, I got some. I'm wondering
Okay.
two things. So one, I'm wondering, it's one thing to know where she is, but another thing to actually get her to come back to you. And then how would the process vary if she's wearing her transmitter versus if she's not wearing her transmitter as far as retrieving her if she had gone off somewhere else?
Okay, well, the first thing is the only reason she comes back to me. Let's say she would have caught that pigeon in a place that was completely inaccessible by me. If it was up on a cliff face and there's no way to get there, and she's just going to sit there and eat that pigeon, then she would really have no motivation to come back down to me. Even though she's a dear friend, that's not why she comes back. She comes back for food. And so if she's not hungry, then she is not going to come down until she is hungry, and that might be a couple of days, 2, 3, maybe even 5 days later before she's hungry enough to where she says, "Oh, I'm hungry, so let me go down to my trained human where he'll feed me." So, it is not an uncommon occurrence when you go hawking to be in a situation where the bird has carried its quarry to a location that is inaccessible, and then you just plan on taking 2, 3, 4, 5 days off of work, and to be out there until your bird becomes hungry, and then the bird comes back to you, and then you bring your bird home. I've actually had a falcon that was lost, and we had it was a stupid mistake, and the bird got away. Did not have a transmitter on, no way to track the bird, and so the only thing I could do is drive around the area, the valley here, where we lost the bird, and every mile get out of my car and hurry up. No, okay, and get out of my car every mile and take her toy, a lure, which is kind of a leather sack with leather wings. It's a leather pigeon, basically you tie food onto, and they're used to coming to their lure, and whistle and swing the lure and drop it and throw it in the air 3 or 4 times, and if the bird is within a few hundred yards, when the bird sees you and it's hungry, it'll come back down to its lure. And it took me 2 weeks to get to basically just keep driving out every early morning, every late evening, and trying to call the bird, and then all of a sudden, here comes my little falcon, just comes flying and landed like, where the heck have you been? And so sometimes tracking them is a very, very long process. These help a great deal. They really do, but they're not perfect, and you can't just think that you don't have to train your bird nearly as well because you've got one of these on your bird. That's not the case. The bird has got to be very, very well trained, so that it will come back to you, because if it doesn't want to come back, it's free, and there's no way that you can bring it back. It's just strictly whether the bird wants to come back to you or not.
The comment from Terry Martin says, would Belle know how to find her way home?
No, these are not homing pigeons. Even though birds of prey are hardwired to return to where they learned to fly, basically my home she's not bonded to my house. She would basically hang around the area for which I lost her, and usually for, depending on the time of year, usually for a week or maybe 2 weeks before they start look. They're going to follow the food, and so they're not going to just come back to my home.
Okay. Miss Misia asked, has she ever caught something that totally surprised you?
Well, to be honest with you, that pigeon was a total surprise. I had set it up the flight in such a way that she shouldn't have been able to catch that pigeon, and so that was a big surprise. It was a couple of things that surprised me quite a bit. First of which is when the pigeon had the advantage. The pigeon had a lot more elevation. She shouldn't have been able to catch the pigeon at all, and it was a surprise that she came back toward the cliff face, developing more lift to get more altitude. That was a big surprise. And then secondly, the pigeon hung around the area, feeling that the hawk was no threat. And why the pigeon did that, why the pigeon just didn't, fly out the canyon and head for home, I have no idea. And so it was a big surprise that she caught that pigeon. Mostly, she's only caught things that we were intentionally going for, which was primarily jackrabbits and then cottontails. I have had hawks and falcons and things catch things that were quite surprising. I had a male Harris hawk. Now, just imagine a male Harris hawk almost half her size. A little tiny male Harris hawk like this, almost half her size, that caught a great blue heron. A great blue heron. The bird was, literally stood 4 feet tall. And we had my little male Harris hawk. We were out hunting along a fence line, looking for either cottontails or pheasants. And she flew along the fence line out west of town in an agricultural area, and dove down right next to the fence and stood up in the thick brush right next to the fence. Stood up this great blue heron, and she was hanging onto its back. And the great blue heron tried to escape and put its head through the fencing. And my hawk was hanging onto its back, and I ran over there and I grabbed the great blue heron, stepped her off it. She didn't hurt it. And grabbed the great blue heron. And I knew nobody in the world would believe that my little male Harris hawk, half her size, would catch something that's 4 feet tall. Just this monstrously big bird with a super long bill that probably could have really hurt her if I wasn't close and wasn't able to help her. But we got the great blue heron, and I got her off, and I gave her a big reward, and we walked back to the car. And I knew if I told this story to anybody, they'd say, "No way, your bird couldn't have caught a great blue heron. It's not possible." So I took the great blue heron, I socked it up and put it in my car, and took the great blue heron to the regional fish and game office here in Cedar City, and walked in the door with this great blue heron and says, "Look what my hawk caught," because I wanted witnesses. And so that was a really, really big surprise. And one of the local game wardens says, "Oh, okay, well," when he was going to head out and he'll go turn it loose. I says, "Great." So I handed him the great blue heron, and it bit at him, and he dropped it, and the great blue heron ran all over the office and pooped on everything. And so from that moment on, I've decided that if we do catch something unusual, I'll take it back out and release it, and not give it to the game wardens.
Or just take a photo.
Yeah, well, we didn't have cell phones at the time. Didn't have
Yeah.
any way of taking a photo,
Yeah.
but we do now. So
Oh, back in the black and white world?
yeah, but back in the Stone Age when we were hawking dinosaurs.
So when you said that she surprised you by getting that pigeon and by building more lift using the canyon and all that, that sort of touched on a topic that we've seen a lot in comments on our videos about when you release young birds that did not grow up with their parents. People seem to think that because they did grow up with their parents, they don't know how to hunt. So how much is innate and how much is what the parents give?
Well, the truth of the matter is, the parents don't really teach the birds how to hunt. Um, Young birds in the nest, especially birds of prey, They compete to the nest, can be quite a nest, even to the point of injuring each other. Once the young birds are starting to fly, they follow mom and dad around. Mom catches something, the babies fly down and beat up the parents and steal the food until mom and dad get sick and tired of it. When mom and dad get sick and tired of it, then the mom and dad migrate. They just leave, and the babies are on their own. And this is one of the reasons 80% of all birds of prey don't survive the first year, because everything is learned by by experience, and not by actual education. And so this was the first time that I took Belle out and let her soar up a ridge. And so I fully expected that she would stay on the ridge and maybe use the ridge lift to go up toward the top of the ridge, but that um, she wouldn't realize that to go back and to use that ridge lift and to come back at a higher altitude to have a chance of actually catching that pigeon. But Harris Hawks are extremely intelligent, and so she was able to go, okay, hey, I can use the air rushing up the face of the cliff to get me more lift, to get me more altitude, and the pigeon's still out there, so maybe I'll get another shot. And so it was just fascinating to watch that process, and what she was able to learn from that experience. I've had lots and lots of hawks that I've been able to get to tremendous altitudes. People think of birds, aerial birds flying at high altitude like falcons, and you don't think of a Harris hawk, which is basically hunts from vantage points from trees and power poles and those kinds of things. They don't hunt at high altitude. They can if you give them the opportunity to learn how to do that.
Okay. Comment from Suzanne. Does she recognize the tracer? Could she see this as a preparation to flying?
These little transmitters, yeah, she does. She knows that when I clip this onto her tail, she knows we're going out, and she gets to go play. And so some birds will fight with these. And it depends on how you put them on. Some people kind of get a little aggressive and just shove them on. I do it kind of gently so that they don't feel that they're being punished by putting these things on. And so it's just like when you go pick up a leash, your dog gets all excited because he's going for a walk. And quite often, with a well-made bird, you put these on, and the bird goes, "Hey, we're going to go play. We're going to go hunting." Yes, you know that, huh?
Okay. Joseph asks, is there any footage of them hunting desert cottontail rabbits and any footage of them hunting jackrabbit hares?
On our YouTube channel, we do have footage of Belle out chasing both jackrabbits and cottontails. Yes.
And a comment from Terry, who's, I think, reminding us, I want to donate to Enoch. Tell us how? But I think she knows how. I think she's just reminding us to tell everybody else.
Well, basically, you can certainly make a donation on our website to our Enoch Wildlife Rescue Facilities. That's our exciting news. We're building this whole new raptor rescue facility here in Enoch, and we're really excited about it. Right now, we've been talking to contractors and building companies, and just kind of going through the whole process. So you can go to gowildlife.org. That's our website. You can just donate. You can go to the store. We've got lots of my wildlife photography. We have T-shirts, and of course, got to plug the book. We've got our book, Healer of Angels, and see if I can turn it the right way. There we go. That's our book. Yeah, you know that book, don't you, sweetie? Yeah, that's your book. But that's Healer of Angels. The eagle that's on the front cover is my Golden Eagle Scout. And Scout has autographed the book if you buy it directly through us. This is, let's see if you can see that there. I don't know if you can see it. That's Scout's footprint in the book. And so it's the only book autographed by a wild eagle. And if you like animal stories, that's 40 years of wildlife rescue stories and the wisdom of grandpa. It's a fun family read, and And if you like critters, there's stories in there about the first elephant I trained, and stories about working with big cats, and stories about working at bush gardens. So there's just kind of silly animal stories, and the profits from the sale of the book go to our wildlife rescue facilities that we're building in Enoch. And so we always encourage people, if you want, please buy a book. You can get the book at Amazon and those kinds of places, but it really helps if you buy it directly through us, then we get all the profits.
Okay, Terracotta says, first time I saw Belle soar, and by the way, she corrected her spelling on soar there later, so she knows she messed up, and get a pigeon. I agree, it was fascinating.
Well, that's kind of why we wanted to post this and talk about this. This is the first time Belle has soared and caught a pigeon. So this is our first time. We've been hunting, jackrabbits and cottontails, which is what she's designed to do, and having for the last 3 seasons and having a wonderful time. And we would continue that. But again, the rabbit population has crashed. I don't want to pull any more rabbits out of the environment. What very, very few are left, we want to leave them and let them repopulate and come back. And so Belle's going to get a lot more opportunities to chase pigeons. And even though that's not my personal preference, she seemed to have a great time, and she did really quite well. And so we will continue to let her do that and let her soar. Um, and that may become a regular part of her hunting repertoire. That she's got this skill to be able to soar to altitude, and who knows? Maybe she'll catch an occasional duck or pheasant.
Okay, Jane says, I'm going on my first bird walk on Saturday near the Hudson River in upstate New York. I'll have my binoculars and will be thinking of you, Martin, and all your bird buddies.
Well, you have a tremendous time. Birding is one of the most relaxing and peaceful and exciting and educational. People think ornithology is boring. It really is not. I would encourage you, get yourself a logbook, get yourself a notebook, and start logging what you see. And you can write down the numbers. And a lot of people have, a lot of really serious birders, they have a life list, and so they'll log all the birds that they see. And then when they get down to where there's only maybe 20 species in North America that they haven't seen personally, then they start planning vacations and say, we haven't seen a flammulated owl, so where can we find flammulated owls? And they'll spend 2-3 weeks on vacation in flammulated owl habitat to go and get that opportunity to add that to their life list. And it's just a great hobby and a great way to spend time with your family. So please enjoy yourself.
And bad me, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention all the people who have been donating because we were kind of playing the videos and all that. But we got donations from Terry, a whole bunch from that anonymous dude. Justin donated, and let's see, I'm just scrolling through our comments. Another anonymous, Nicholas, Justin Joss donated 200 Canadian. Is that CA Canadian? Wow.
Oh,
Thank
wow.
you.
Thank you. Well, thank you, everyone. It is really, it is your kindness and generosity that has allowed me to do what we're doing and to rescue all of the critters. A week ago, we released a turkey vulture, and we're going to get that video up, I'm sure, quite soon. It's the first time in my 50 plus years that I have had the opportunity to raise a baby turkey vulture. The vulture was blown out of its nest as a little fuzzball about the size of a softball, just pure white, about that big, and it was just cute as can be. And we had the opportunity to raise up the turkey vulture, get it flying and feeding. We released it a week ago Sunday, and before that we had a golden eagle that we released a week before that. And this week we've got a red-tailed hawk that's getting ready for release, and it's all because of you guys, and it's because of your kindness and your generosity that has allowed myself and our organization here in Enoch to be able to continue doing the work. So thank you.
And we're at 150,000 subscribers now.
Wow. It was less. We're at a record now. Thank you. We made the 150,000 marks that I am so grateful, guys. Welcome, everyone.
So A asks, how do birds do with all the snowfall?
Snow is certainly they certainly don't particularly like. We just had a big snowstorm here between last night and today. We got approximately a foot of snow here at my house, and so the wild birds they hunker down. They sit in a tree. They sit up on a ledge. They try to find some degree of cover, and they just ruffle up their feathers and sit quietly until the snow is gone. And I know there's the old wives' tale about how eagles soar up above the storms. They don't. That's not true. They hunker down and until the storms pass. The only advantage that they have in the snow is that the rabbits are affected by the snow because the rabbits in fresh soft snow they can't run as fast, and that makes it a little easier for some of the hawks and eagles to catch them. But generally speaking, snow is snow and rain, just are something that slows them down, and they have to wait till they dry out. Now, a Harris hawk like this one, they don't like snow is hard on these guys because they're southern Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas where there is no snow, and so Belle, specifically, uh, cannot sleep outside in the wintertime here. And so Belle and my peregrine falcon Helen, we have an unfinished room down the basement, and that's their room, and we've got perches in there for them. And so in the daytime we can put them out when it's not too cold, but at nighttime we bring them in, and then both Belle and Helen take their turns. They actually like to come up here into the living room and sit on my glove and just kind of hang around the family and watch TV in the evening time. So they kind of like their special personal time, one on one with me.
Hey, stork deliveries, can they be taught to talk like ravens?
No, no. Parrots talk. Hawks kill things. That's their trick, and so they don't have the vocal apparatus in order to vocalize like a raven or some of the citizens, some of the parrot type birds, and starlings can vocalize pretty well as well. But that's okay. Sometimes it's better if the bird doesn't talk back to you.
And we have a comment. I love Helen.
I love Helen too. She is such a sweet thing. Helen, for those of you that don't know, that's our peregrine falcon. Helen was hatched with severe birth defects. She's mostly blind, and so she came to us completely disabled, cannot be flown, and so she's just strictly a wildlife ambassador. And just like Belle does, Helen travels with us to do school programs and scout programs and community event programs as a wildlife ambassador to educate the public about these beautiful animals.
And another comment from Wyoming Adventures, Belle is so beautiful.
She is a very, very pretty little girl. We're quite fond of her. I remember um, in the 1970s, the Harris Hawk um, was not very well known, and falconers thought that they were ugly, buzzard-looking, vulture-looking critters, and they thought they were of absolutely no value in falconry. And I remember having a female Harris Hawk like Belle that was brought to me. She had been stolen from a nest and was abused and had a broken leg, and she came to me to be rescued and to be cared for. And I took her to a falconry meet in California, and I got chastised by several people. What are you doing with that really ugly, black, worthless bird? That's no good for falconry. And I says, well, I don't know what to tell you, but she catches lots of rabbits and squirrels. She seems to be a really good falconry bird. And nowadays, the Harris Hawk has got the reputation as one of the most intelligent, one of the most successful and efficient hunters. They will fly in packs like wolves and hunt as groups. In fact, the Harris Hawk, I would venture to say, is probably one of the most popular falconry birds, literally all over the world, because there are people all over the world now breeding Harris hawks for falconry in countries where they had never existed before, because they're such a great animal to work with. They've got such a great personality, and they're such a good game hawk that it's really hard to find any faults. And I think they're gorgeous. I think they're beautiful, black with the red shoulders and white bands on the tail. I think they're just a spectacularly beautiful animal.
Karen says, "Hi, Belle. I just joined your YouTube channel. How old are you? Does she like listening to music?"
Hello, Karen. Welcome to our channel. And Belle she is 3 years old, and so in falconry terms, this is her fourth season, because the first she hunts her first year before she's a year old, so she's a full 3 years old. But this is her fourth falconry season, where she gets to go out and fly free and chase rabbits and having a great time. Other than we're going to be chasing mostly pigeons. And as far as music's concerned, she really doesn't seem to have any interest in music at all. She actually today she's been very, very interested in the computer screen, and so that's kind of caught her attention. That I'm not sure what exactly she's seen, if she's actually seen herself or her and I'm not sure how well she's identifying with what's on the screen, but she does get quite a bit of interest, and she will, when we sit up here in the living room in the evening times, just her and she'll watch the TV, and she'll show interest. I don't think it really means a great deal to her, other than it's weird lights and kind of movements and stuff.
Okay, Joker says, "How is Scout doing?"
Scout is doing very, very well. He is still growing all of his new feathers, and we'll start working him around Thanksgiving. So he's still just as chubby as can be, and he still loves to go do our wildlife programs. We've been doing quite a few of those lately. Even with the pandemic, we have limited the programs, but we're still doing programs that have the social distancing necessary, and everyone that I work with has been vaccinated, so we're trying to get back and do more educational programs.
So we had a question about the white-bellied bald eagle, asking for an update.
The white-bellied bald eagle, and I'll be very honest with you guys, the white-bellied bald eagle is no longer with us. We had the white-bellied bald eagle for more than 2 years. We did everything we could trying to encourage feather growth. It never grew a single feather. It started having other genetic issues as well. The feather growth was a genetic problem, and it started having other genetic issues with its talons and its feet, and it was its quality of life was starting to deteriorate, and so everything we could do, it wasn't suitable zoological, and we had to follow the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service's requirements, and so our white belly, it's very sad, but it's no longer with us.
SoCal asks, "Is it legal to raise an eagle?"
Is it legal to raise an eagle? Let me kind of qualify that for you. In order to have an eagle for falconry, you must be a falconer. In order to be a falconer, you need to read every book on falconry that you can find. There's a written test that you must pass. The written test is administered by the State Fish and Game. Like most government tests, the test is extensive and badly written. Once you have passed the written test, then you have all of your facilities inspected to make sure that you have all that you need to care for the birds properly. Then you have to apprentice for 2 years under a general class or master class falconer. At the end of your 2 years of apprenticeship, you are now a falconer, and you are now allowed to have a variety of hawks and falcons. Cannot have an eagle. 5 more years before you can apply for a master's license. Once you've acquired a master's license, you would have flown a variety of hawks and falcons, but just because you've flown a variety of 2-pound hawks or falcons does not qualify you to fly an 8 to 10 pound eagle. By federal law, you have to have 2 years experience flying eagles before you get a permit to fly eagles, and you can't fly an eagle without a permit. The way around that is to work as a wildlife rehabilitator specialized in the rehabilitation and release of eagles. So you can get your 2 years experience working with eagles, so you can get your permit to work with eagles, and then you're required to apprentice one more time under an established eagle falconer, and that's the halfway point. So is it legal to raise an eagle? It's okay. No. I know, that's Susan. Is it legal to have an eagle? Yes. Um, but there are very few people in North America that can do that. And to be honest with you, I was the first person in North America licensed to trap and train a wild eagle, golden eagle in falconry. And so, and that's to be actually as it should be, because eagles are very large. They're very complex. As hard as it is to be a falconer, it's much, much harder to be an eagle falconer. And you need a really, really special skill set, and you need a very special environment in order to do that. So can you raise an eagle as a pet? No. I hope that helps answer your question.
Okay, Sophie asked, has Belle ever attacked you before? And also, does she show affection to you like cuddling?
Belle has never shown any aggression to me at all. Now, that's not to say that she won't. This is a wild animal, and those talons that you see right there, those are razor sharp, and they're extremely powerful. If at any point in time she gets upset for any reason, she can certainly hurt me if she wants to. Now, the way she shows affection, she doesn't cuddle. My golden eagle, Scout, he cuddles. Scout will literally put his head on my shoulder and just kind of tuck it in, and he's very, very sweet and gentle and affectionate with me, and it's amazing. Every time he does that, it just heals my soul to know that I have a golden eagle that I can consider a dear friend. Now, Belle, on the other hand, she doesn't cuddle up close, but if you kind of watch through what we've been talking about today, and you see her wag her tail, that's her little sign that she's happy. And so in the morning time, when I get up and go downstairs to pick her up to put her out in her chamber, as soon as I walk in the room, she kind of has this little talky sound little growly sound that she makes, and she wags her tail, and that's her way of saying hi. I like you, and what are you going to feed me?
Well, we're coming up on the hour.
Well, is there any last questions from anybody that we can answer for you? And I hope this helps you understand that these are very versatile birds. You can teach them to go in. There she goes, wagging her tail. You can get them to go into a soar. You can actually get them to hunt birds as well as mammals. They're not built for it necessarily, but it is in a pinch. It is an interesting way to fly them. So, any last questions before we call it a night, guys?
Okay, let me go through and see if we got anything here. I've got a lot of comments. Oh, here's one. Do you ever take your birds out west to Barrow, Utah?
Out to Barrow, Utah, I do. Not too often. I've been able to to find plenty of rabbits right here. But if Burl didn't lose all their jackrabbits and cottontails, now the people I've talked to said they have. But if there's a lot of jackrabbits and cottontails in Burrow, I may have to drive, the hour's drive out to Burrow to take her hunting. And so if you know of a lot of rabbits, please give me a call. Let me know.
Okay, should we wrap it up?
Let's go ahead and wrap it. Thank you, guys. You have been so very kind. Belle, you've been Belle. You've just an angel. We're so grateful to have such a sweet animal to work with. Please continue to follow us. Like I said, we're moving forward on the Enoch Raptor Rescue Facilities. We're all excited about that, and we'll talk more about that as we come along. Check out our website. GoWildlife.org for anybody that wants. Like I said, you get these directly from us. You get the autographed copy, And you guys have a great night. Hope the weather's better where you are than right here. It's going to be a cold night for all of us. And so thanks, guys, and we'll talk to you soon.